Welcome to the Church of Obelis. Today we're going to look at neutral items on Chen. Which neutral items are best on Chen, which are better left to your teammates, all of that coming up.
My holiness deepens.
If you want more in-depth content on Chen and other micro heroes, I invite you to join the fold and subscribe to this channel and ring the bell button. And now onto the video. So what does Chen look for in terms of neutral items? Ideally you'd want to get something that gives your teammates or your creep some sort of bonus, some sort of aura items. You're also looking for some mana regen, especially in the early mid game when you have this mech and not really enough mana to cast everything you have. And then to less extent you also care a little bit about having some HP and having your mana pool expanded. Conversely, you don't care very much about movement speed and all stats. You don't care about right click damage, and you especially don't care about spell damage because you don't have any spell damage. So these are the items that you don't want. Chen tends to be a hero that has a lot of slots available for neutral items, if you play him as a support at least, because you tend to go for Grief, which is a very expensive item. It costs 5k gold approximately, and it only takes up one slot, and that's the slot that would usually be taken up by boots. So you have a lot more slots available than most other supports, and this means that you can more easily carry these neutral items. So you tend to get a lot of hand-me-downs in the mid-game and late game when other heroes run out of slots. So often you can hoover up all these sort of low-tier items that give you some value but are not that great. So that's something to keep in mind as Chen. So a couple of patches ago you often saw Chens getting an item like Bracer or two just to make them a bit bulkier and keep them from getting bursted. You don't really see that anymore because you have all these neutral items that they're just sitting around in fountain in your past like 20-30 minutes, and you can just pick them up without having to pay anything for it. So this frees you up earlier on to just go for these bigger items, these really valuable items like Griefs, like a Pipe maybe you might want to get something like a Vlad's for your team. So let's get into tier 1. Keen Optic, the mana regen is nice, but the cast run is irrelevant for Chen, so generally there's better heroes for this. Pullman Shield, Iron Talon, Ironwood Tree, these are more core items, you don't really need these as Chen. Royal Jelly, it would be like nice to have as a Chen, this health and mana regen, but generally there's better targets on your team, so if you find this item you're generally better off giving these two buffs to someone else in your team. But if I'm like playing a core Chen or offlane Chen, I'll probably use this on myself and then share it to an ally. But a support Chen probably share both of these. Then there's a Mango Tree. Mango Tree, I mean, it doesn't really matter who uses this item, you just plant it down somewhere and then it doesn't matter who picked up the item. Generally just put this down somewhere where you want to have vision, or you just put it in your base or somewhere like behind your tower or something where it can just provide you mangoes and give you value that way. And then we have Ocean Heart and Broom Handle. These are again more core items. Ocean Heart is like a reasonable hand-me-down to take if no one else has slots available for this anymore. Then we have the Trusty Shovel. This item is really great. The digs at the start are worth on average about 100 gold for every dig. So if you average out the gold you can get from bounty runes in the entire team and the value of these TPs and healing salves, that works out to about 100 gold at the start, and then it keeps going up because the bounty rune increases in value. So this item is like a little bit over 100 GPM basically, as well as the 150 health, so this is an excellent item. This item doesn't necessarily have any particular synergy with Chen, but he's just a hero that can easily use it and often has a slot available for it, so it's a great item to have in Chen, and it also gives you some survivability, which is always nice to have. And then we have the Faded Brooch. This item is nice on Chen, but generally, at least in the early game, there's heroes who can make better use of this, who can make better use especially of this movement speed. But the mana is always nice to have, so this is an item that you don't mind having as Chen. And then we have the Arcane Ring. This gives you some int, some armor, as well as the active that's like a mini arcane boots. This item is nice to have on Chen. Sometimes it's going to be heroes in a team who can make better use of this, but definitely you have some mana problems at this stage of the game, so this is a nice item to have on Chen and also helps on the team a little bit. In the tier 2 category, we have the Grove Bow and the Vampire Fangs, Ring of Aquila, Pupil's Gift, and Imclaw. All these items are not particularly good on Chen, they're more core items, and you don't really want to have these items, at least early on. Maybe later on, if no one can use them, you can take them, but they're not that good on Chen. Then we have Philosopher's Stone, which is great on Chen. You get this GPM bonus and the mana, and then you have a penalty on your attack damage. But past 50 minutes in the game, you generally don't really care very much about your right clicks. Right clicks for Chen are important in the laning stage, but later on doesn't really matter. So Philosopher's Stone is great on Chen. And Nether Shawl is an item that's useless on Chen. You don't care about spell damage. It's just trading some armor for magic resistance. There's practically always someone who can use this item better than Chen. Dragon Scale is nice for the passive, which doesn't really matter whether you put it on a core or a support, but generally there's going to be heroes in a team who can make better use of this in the early game. Then we have Essence Ring. This gives you some nice mana, mana regen, and has this active that's basically the reverse of Soul Ring. You pay mana to get health. It also says it heals you, but this heal is not amplified by your aura. So you always just get this 425 to your max HP and to your current HP, and regardless of what level you have in your aura. And this item is nice. It gives you some nice mana regen, which you still need at this stage of the game, and of course some nice tankability. Often you're gonna want to have this more on something like an offlaner who really makes better use of this tankiness, but it's also a decent item on Chen. Wembrace is a core item, don't get this on Chen. Even if you're core Chen, you don't need any of these bonuses. And then we have the Clumsy Net, which is very great on Chen. It gives you some nice attributes, which are not that important on Chen, but it gives you mana regen, which is great. And very importantly, this active, which is a root of 1.75 seconds. And this is obviously really useful in Chen because you don't have any other disable otherwise. All you have is this fairly weak slow from Penitence. And you also don't care very much about ensnaring your own hero. So this is a great item on Chen. On to tier 3 items. Here we have Repair Kit, which is great as just a utility item to repair your towers. The HP regen aspect is not very relevant on Chen, but you never say no to that. But this item is just, it doesn't really matter who holds it, it's mostly about the active. Then we have Craggy Coat, which gives you armor at the expense of attack speed. And again, you don't care about right click damage, so this is a great bargain for Chen. But often you have heroes in your team who make better use of armor. On a sort of tanky offlaner type of hero, this is often better. But if they don't have slots for this item, this can be a great item to have on Chen, especially if you're playing against some of these more physical, bursty kind of heroes like a PA, for example. A Greater Fairy Fire, more of a core item, generally not advisable on Chen. We have the Quickening Charm, which gives you HP regen and cooldown reduction. Cooldown reduction is great on Chen because you have 4 active abilities, as well as you often build active items like Greaves and Pipe that benefit from this. So it's good on Chen, but generally it's even better on some other heroes. Spider Legs is more of a core item, you don't care that much about mobility. Enchanted Quiver is actually surprisingly not that bad on Chen, because it gives you just this flat bonus damage every 8 seconds. So that's nice, and the bonus attack range, you don't care too much about that, but if none of your cores want to have this item, this can be a great addition on Chen. Add some magic damage to your arsenal. Paladin Sword, more of a core item. Overdestruction, also generally more of a core item. This item is best on kind of melee right-click heroes that have trouble sticking on a target. Heroes that get kited like Lifestealer or Wraith King or Lycan or Lone Druid with a Spirit Bear. Now the problem with this item is it doesn't provide any stats. All it provides is this passive, which is admittedly really strong, but Later on in the game, your cores are on the slots, they can't really use this item anymore, and then it's a great addition on Chen, because this passive is great. It helps out your creeps, do extra damage, and just generally this armor reduction is nice to help the rest of your team deal more damage, helps you out against doing things like Roshan and other objectives. And the slow is at least something. It's not as strong as a melee hero, but still 15% slow is not to be scoffed at. Titan Sliver, core item, generally not very useful on Chen. Telescope is a nice aura item. Personally, Chen doesn't benefit very much from this, from attack range and bonus cast range. That's not very important on Chen, but it is important on some of your allies, so this is an item that Chen can carry around just to help out his team. And then we have the Mindbreaker, more of a core item with the attack damage and attack speed, but the silences would be useful on Chen, so this is again an item you can use as a hand-me-down, but when this drops, it's always better to have this on a right-clicking hero. Tier 4, Witless Shaco. If you have some other mana items in your arsenal, you can actually use this. Makes you very tanky, it means your enemies have almost no chance of bursting you. Often there's going to be better heroes to carry this, but can be quite useful if you have the mana to support this. We have Timeless Relic. Debuff duration and spell damage, you don't care about that at all, so it's not a good item on Chen. Spell Prism. Mana regen this late in the game is not that important anymore, and attribute bonuses generally more important on other heroes. Cooler reduction is nice and all, but it's such a strong item that's usually better on other heroes. Princess Knife doesn't give any stats, so it's generally not that good of a core item, and it's just nice to have on Chen because you have fairly good attack range and you just have this Hex ability every 12 seconds. This is a nice item to have on Chen. And we have Flicker, which is not very relevant on Chen. We have Ninja Gear and Illusion Escape. These are items more for agility heroes, or right clickers, you don't want these items. Havoc Hammer is nice, I guess, but generally it's more of a item you want on like a frontline kind of hero. So it's an item you don't mind carrying, but it's almost always going to be a hero that can use it better. Magic Lamp is actually great on Chen, gives you a lot of survivability, and with the passive it means you basically can't be bursted. So this means you can always get off your mech, your greaves, your wand, your ultimate, your pipe, whatever else item you have. And so this is great on Chen if you're worried about being bursted. And then we have the Leveler and the Minotaur Horn, both of which are core items, more for right clickers. And then the tier 5 items, most of these are more core items. There's like the Book of the Dead, which is nice, I guess, on Chen. You get some nice survivability and some mana out of this. And of course the active gives you these 3 sets of Necro units, which is very powerful. It doesn't really matter who holds this item, so we might as well have it on Chen. So we don't have a core hero that really likes to have strength and int. This is an item that you can definitely have on Chen and just use it for the active. But generally, like tier 5 items hardly ever even matter. The games hardly ever actually go that long, and when they do, these items are generally better on cores. So here are the best items you can get at each tier for Chen. So tier 1, the shovel is really great. An item you can keep for a very long time, gives you a lot of value over time. And Arcane Ring also just for the mana, so these 2 items are the ones you look out for at tier 1, the other ones are generally better on other heroes. Tier 2, the best items to get on Chen are the Philosopher's Stone, for the GPM bonus mostly, and the Clumsy Net, which is a great addition on Chen because he has no disables otherwise. At tier 3, the most of the items are not that great on Chen, mostly better on other heroes, but the Telescope is like a nice aura item that you can always have on Chen, just as like on any support. And then at tier 4, the Magic Lamp is of course great, always helps you out not to get bursted. And then Princess Knife is always nice for its disable. So on the whole, there's a lot of items that are like nice to have on Chen, but not all that great. So Chen is not really a very high priority target to get these neutral items. So when you find these items, quite often you're better off passing them along to a teammate who can make better use of them. And then later on in the game, when there's a run of slots, you often get these items back, and then you can still squeeze some use out of them. Coming up on this channel is going to be a video on how to play Chen in the late game, and I'm also going to make another video on how to play Lone Druid in the new patch. If there are any other more micro type heroes that you want me to cover, please write them down in the comment section, and maybe I'll get to them. Just to warn you, I'm not really a Meepo player, so I don't write Meepo. But yeah, if you don't want to miss this upcoming content, please join the fold by subscribing to this channel and ringing the bell so you get notified when these videos are posted. And in the meantime, I invite you to look at these other videos from my channel, and always willing, I'll see you there.